Welcome, everyone, to my channel. If this is your first time here, pull up a seat, sit down. We are going to talk about A Torch Against the Night by Sabah Tahir in its entirety. Why? Because I did not update you at all while I was reading this book. Why? Because there was 2 days that I actually did not physically read this book. And there is no legitimate reason as to why I did that, besides the fact that I was in the debating stage of whether or not I wanted to continue said story. This is the second book in the series, An Ember in the Ashes. Okay, that's what this is. This is the second book in the Ember in the Ashes series, and if you guys recall, the last time I talked about that series, I was more like, I don't know if I'm going to continue or not. And then I said, I'll give the second book a try to see if it'll draw me in, and then I'll go from there. Well, the book, this lovely book here, it did draw me in, but more like about 150 pages into the book than anything else. I figure that's like a 452 page book, and I should give it a chance. Most books that get interesting happen later on when things actually start officially moving in the direction that it needs to move into. And I will tell you that it's only because of one thing that kept me reading this book. That was it. Nothing else. So, I will continue the series, but I am at this point in my life thinking about not keeping the books after I complete the series, as in donating them or selling them. I'll probably donate them because the first one has a lot of highlights in it, and this one has absolutely zero because I didn't know if I was going to like the book or not. And then when I realized that I like just a tiny tad bit of it, I decided not to do any annotations in it. So the back is Elias and Laya are running for their lives after the events of the fourth trial. Martial soldiers hunt the two fugitives as they flee and undertake a perilous journey through the heart of the Empire. Laya is determined to break into Quaff, the Empire's dangerous prison, to save her brother, who is the key to the scholar's survival. And Elias is determined to help Laya succeed, even if it means giving up his last chance of freedom. But dark forces, human and otherworldly, work against them. The pair must fight every step of the way to outsmart their enemies: the bloodthirsty Emperor Marcus, the merciless Commandant, the sadistic Warden of Quaff, and most heartbreaking of all, Helen, Eli's former friend and the Empire's newest bloodstrike. Helen faces a torturous mission of her own, one that might destroy her. Find the traitor, Elias Venturius, and the scholar girl who helped him escape, and kill them both. Okay, so, it immediately starts off with them escaping in the underground catacombs, meaning an Ifrit that wants, silver. Obviously, it wants Lila's armband. And, yeah, there's a lot of things that happen. When they do actually escape the tunnels, because it gets blown up and they can't stay inside of it, they run into, of course, the Commandant sees Elias, and so they try to escape from it, and they do, and they're like, well, I know one way out. It's to this spot that my grandfather told me about. I don't know if my mother knows about it, but we're going to go through it. The mother knew about it. Elias and her fight. Now, Karis is a bitch. She used something called the Nightshade, and it is a deadly poison that in a small amount of dose will slowly kill you over time. In a large amount of dose, it'll immediately kill you. And it's actually banned in the Empire. So, that was given to him through the sword. And Lila kind of knocked the Commandant out. She should have killed the Commandant right then and there. To be honest, the Commandant should have been dead there. Because she was knocked out. You should have just ended her life. Because she's She's trying to take over the empire. She wants to be empress. She doesn't want Marcus to rule. She wants to rule. And of course, what she really wants to do is she wants to kill all scholars, because she works for the Nightbringer, who is a djinn who the brethren were all captured and being tortured in captivity by being captured and being in prison by the scholars a long, long, long time ago. 1,000 years ago. Okay? That's torturous. I'm assuming. I'm not really sure. I've never been in prison before, so I don't really have no experience with that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's his goal. But they escape, and they head not directly north, but they do still head north. And Elias is going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And finally, he gets to speaking to the Soul Catcher. Now, this is where it got me a little intrigued. The Soul Catcher was like, "You're dying. You'll come here eventually. Why don't you just give up?" And he's like, "No, I can't." So he goes back. And he goes back and forth. And he's talking with her. And he meets Tristis, who, unfortunately, is one of the ones that died during the third trial. That Elias couldn't save him. Elias didn't want nobody dead. And that's the problem. That really is the problem. So, they, don't get very far. But they realize what they need to do. So they head to, Nur, where there's a bunch of tribesmen all together, hundreds and thousands of tribes, people, all together for a festival. And he wants to talk to the Nur leader, IF, about getting them into Quaff, leading them there, because it's going to take them a very long time. And Elias is told by the Soul Catcher that you've got like about 2 months before you're dead. There ain't nothing you can do. So he's like, we got to find a way to get in and out in 2 months. So he's like, I know what we can do. So he goes to her to do it. But while they're on their way there, they run into Keenan and Izzy. I hate Keenan. I knew there was something fucking up with him in the first one. I never liked him. I never liked him. And I could never put my finger on why I never liked him. At all. I couldn't. But yeah. There's a reason why not to like him. So they tag along. Keenan wants him and Lila to go off alone. And leave Izzy and Elias behind, and then they find out that Elias is dying, and that there's nothing they can do about it, so they're trying to break into Quaff before he dies. And when they go to IF, he's like, yeah, I need your help, I'm dying, I need to break into Quaff. So, she's like, alright, well, I'll pull in some favors, and she does, and, one of the favors, actually isn't a favor, because he goes to Mommy Ryla, which is his adoptive mother, and she goes to the tribes that she knows, and she pulls in a favor for them. And her job is at the storyteller stage. She's going to incite a riot to help them escape, because Helena is there, because she figures it out. She gets ordered there, and she finds out that she believes he's there. Yeah. She talks a story about Elias, her son, and how he got taken away after being abandoned, and how he was forced to do terrible things in order to survive. And she does incite the riot, and a lot of tribesmen do die, and when they're trying to take off throughout this riot, they escape through it, but Mama Ryla and her son and some of her tribespeople get captured, and they do get tortured by Dex, which is terrible. We actually don't find out whether or not she lives or dies, or her son, which is, Elias's adopted brother, which he loves. He loves them. They raised him. They gave him a tribesman name. They took care of him for 6 years of his life. He was a part of them. And all he ever really wanted was to go back to being a part of them, of that life. He never wanted to go to Blackcliff Academy. Though I will tell you, the Blackcliff Academy reminds me a little bit of like Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing reminds me of Blackcliff Academy because I read that one after an Ember in Ashes. I want to say Torch. I don't know why. Okay, so from there, let's see. Oh, Elias and Helena have a brief conversation. She has someone named Avitus Harper, who is a Commandant spy. Turns out he's not actually. Well, he was spying, but then he stopped spying. Don't really know why he stopped spying at first, but then it turns out that you do find out later. Avitus Harper's father is actually Elias's father. How that fucking happened, I don't know. Not exactly clear on how that happened. But yeah, they're half brothers. Really, really weird. Beyond weird, in my opinion. Because she's Karis is a bitch. And I don't see how Harper's father fell in love with a bitch to have a kid. Let's see. She gets recalled after the fight happens because of an uprising between the Gens Potters, and so she is forced to kill them and shove their bodies off a cliff as a way of showing the other gens and the gens that will step up into their Potter's position not to betray the freaking Emperor. You later learn that it was actually the Commandant who incited that, and the Warden of Quaff is actually working with the Commandant and the Nightbringer, which is terrible. Very terrible, in my opinion. So, Izzy, Keenan, Elias, and Laya are all with IF and her caravan, and they're going north. Now, they make it quite a good distance before some scholars come running up on them, and these, actually before that, Elias leaves. Leaving a note, a 7-sentence note to Lila about how he's dying, he's not going to make it past Rathana. He's not going to make it past Rathana, and so he's going to get to Quaff first. He's going to break her brother out, and by the time they get there, he'll have her brother out, and he'll probably be dead by then. So, he decides to do that, and he says, IF, you still need to get them there. You still have to fulfill your end of the deal. That's what he does. Unfortunately, because they stop for a night in camp, some scholars come running up on them, and they try to hide the scholars because that's what Lila wants, and that was a bad decision. Some of the scholars that they hid survived, but a couple of the tribesmen of IF die. Izzy dies. Gibran is like totally broken up about that because I think he liked Izzy a lot because they did a lot of chores together and everything. So because of that, Lila blaming herself, she's finally convinced by Keenan to go off by themselves, which they do. And of course, she makes IF leave to the Freelands, where she'll be safe. While she and Keenan are on their way to Quaff, Gibran is being mean to his older sister and telling her, you shouldn't have done that, you should go back and do your job and protect them and everything. So she actually does turn around and go back. But you don't actually see all that. You hear her say that when she meets up with them. Elias makes it to Quaff prison. He gets in. He finds out where Darian is. Of course, one of them says he's dead. And then he finds out that he's actually still in the interrogation hell area. Alive. And he meets a little boy who doesn't have a name. And then he names him Taz of the Tribesmen. And they torture Elias for information on how he escaped and everything, and what's happening to him and all this stuff, and about Laya. Now he breaks out at one point, gets a Darian, talks to Darian, and Darian's like, "You can't convince me that you're not working for the warden." At first, and then he finally says some things that make him understand that he's not working for the warden. He's a marshal, and he's a prisoner, and he's trying to break him out because he's working for Laya. And the reason why is because the warden's not asking him about the steel that he can mold and make into weapons. No, he wants to know about Laya. And that's when Elias realizes that there's something off about Keenan. And what is off about Keenan? Well, you don't find out until a little bit later, but you do find out. Okay, so he figures it out, but he gets captured again, and they get separated, and he gets tortured again for information about Laya. Always about Lila. Everything about Lila. What's so special about Lila? The warden wants to know. So he gives as much information as he can, with Taz being threatened. Of course, the first night that he was there, Taz was tortured because of something that Elias did, which is terrible. Poor Taz. And, yeah, there's a scholar uprising happening inside of it, and they want to be free and break free, and they're going to try and do it. Yeah. And Taz tells Elias about it, says, "We're ready to do it whenever you're ready." Meanwhile, the Commandant is going around killing scholars from the south all the way north. That's all she's doing. She's just literally going around killing off every single scholar except for the slaves. And yeah, she's just, that's what she's doing. I was just going to see where Quaff was. Where is Quaff? Quaff is 3? Where is 3? Oh my lord. So, yeah. Ah! So, yeah, she's just started from the south of the empire. And just started killing off all kinds of people. And then they, yeah. Helen realizes that he's going north to Quaff, so she decides to go north to Quaff as well. Commandant's going north to Quaff to kill off all the scholars. Elias is captured. Lila's going to Quaff. But here's the thing. Helena gets there before the Commandant does, and she talks to the warden, and she answers a bunch of questions about Lila, and she gets one thing back. You didn't, because she wants to trade information. And he just walks away. She's like, "I answered all your questions," and he's like, "You didn't ask the right question. You asked who, not what," and walked away. So now she's got this big ass question mark of like, the person he serves is a what, not a who? Huh? The Commandant arrives. She and the warden talk about how they're doing the scholar thing, how they're serving the master, and about his prison and everything. So you learn a little bit about that, how he's working for the same person, obviously the Nightbringer, and that the Nightbringer has actually been missing, and they don't know where he is or what he's doing. They're just doing their own bidding, and it's because the Nightbringer is not around at the moment. Well, you know where the Nightbringer was? Nightbringer was with Lila. Yeah, with Lila. How do I know that? Because he was Keenan. And he actually loves Lila. Because the only way for him to get the star piece back that Lila had on her shoulder, which is something he needs, and this star that he's building will break his brethren out of prison. But the only way to get the star is for love to be there. Okay? Lila has to love Kenan, and Kenan has to love Lila in order for him to receive the star. Well, once he gets the star piece, he transforms into the Nightbringer and disappears with it. And it upsets her a lot. So, Ayaf and Lila meet back up together. She's like, where's Kenan? Don't worry about that. I still need to break in. They get to the area of where the stuff is, and then Lila meets Helen. Now, Helena is there still with the commandant, and then they have a talk. Okay? Lila and Helena. And she talks about the soldiers in this pass, these hills, in the Argent Hills. And she's like, yeah, there's a bunch of soldiers there. And so Helena sends out Faz, I think his name is Fazris, to go and look into that. And when he comes back, he reports, yeah, there's a lot of people there. Gens with their flags and soldiers, most likely the ones that were siphoned off from their borders and everything to make this army. So, the commandant is leading them. So she's like, goes up to the warden and goes, you need to give me Elis now. I need Elis. I need him. I need Elis. I need him. I need him now. And he's like, nope, not giving him up. I'm not giving him up. But he's like, but I will if you allow me to sit there and study you, little singer. So he knows that she can sing and heal. She didn't think nobody knew about that. But yeah, he wants to experiment. He said, I will give you Elis to bring back to the Emperor if you give me my experiment that I want on you. And she's like, I don't have time for this bullshit. There is a coup coming on and I need to do something about it. And he's like, oh, don't worry about that. He's like, that's going to happen whether or not you want it to. And she's like, you're working for her. And so she realizes a few things and she's like, I have to go do this. I got to go report this coup. Now, she goes back to the Emperor with the coup information, and the Emperor is very upset about that. And so to punish her for talking about the coup in front of all these people, and to punish her for not bringing him Elis, he kills her mother, her father, and her sister, Hannah. Olivia is the only one that's left, and he decides that he's going to be merciful and marry Olivia that night. Great. And then he sits there and goes, I already knew about the coup, you bitch. You should have just brought me the person that I needed. This wouldn't have happened if you hadn't barged in here without Elis and talking about a coup. They would all be alive. And then he walks off. And she realizes that the augurs had set her up for this. That they knew that this would happen and that this would break her and unmake her and that they would make her into something better. Meanwhile, all of that is happening. Elis is still going back and forth between the Soul Catcher's realm and everything like that, which is actually a living physical place, a forest. It's called the Forest of Durst, I believe it is. Is it even on here? Shiva's cabin. Yeah, it's this big ass forest area, which the Forest of Dusk, which a lot of people do not like being near or going inside of, but it's where all the souls go for the Soul Catcher to help them move on after their death and accept that they're dead. And while they're in the middle of an escape that him and Lila, with Taz being the runner between them, create the plan of setting the place on fire, freeing all the scholars, and freeing them and escaping. He officially dies on a staircase, trying to carry Darren. And then he makes a deal with the Soul Catcher. And the Soul Catcher's deal is that make me your successor and let me go back and do what I need to do, and I will help you, and I will release you, and you will be able to rest Shiva, because that's her real name. And then we'll be fine. And she explains to him why he was different and why she wanted him. She said it took her a while to get used to the wailing and be able to talk to the spirits, but he immediately could talk to them. They were whispers. They weren't wailing to him. And then she tells him that the majority of the people that you had murdered and came here, they passed on because you mourned their death. Because you didn't want to kill them. You just had no choice in the matter. And she's like, I think that would be perfect for taking over. And that's why I was watching you. And that's why I was trying to pull you in. Because it was weird. She's like, Trista and Izzy were the only ones left. And he helped them both move the fuck on. He helped Izzy move on and accept her death. And he helped Trista finally move on. And so she agreed and brought him back to life. And so they escape. But it gets a little complicated because they run into the warden. Warden figures out Lila's there. The key gets jammed when they're trying to break out the scholars. But it works out in the end. They do escape. So, yay. They escape. And it's great. And it's wonderful. And that's just what they needed. The scholars, IF and her tribe, IF, Taz, and all the people that they broke out, they all go to the Freelands, but Lila stays with her brother because her brother is not woken up yet, and Elis is told her the deal he made to get free. So there's a bunch of that going on there. They kiss. Elis and Lila kiss. But the souls are jealous. Because he can hear them and he feels them. And he's always going back to the cabin and always being there. Then Darren wakes up. And that's the end. Of course, Helena and her sister talk. And they're plotting to get revenge on Marcus for killing off their family. Yeah. And the cook, who is Lila's mother, as far as I can tell, from what I've gathered, she and Helena are planning to start taking down the Commandant. Harper, who is also on Helena's side, they all agree that the Commandant needs to be stopped for the Empire's sake. So they're doing that, trying to plan a coup. But since she sat there and the Commandant sat there and disbanded her army, but she can build it back up, she just needs time. So they have some time to start dismantling her. And the Marcus is like, I want her to be humiliated. I want her to be tortured by the fact that she failed trying to do this coup. So I will read A Reaper at the Gates. We'll see how that goes. I gave this a 3.25. The only reason why I kept reading was because of Elis and the Soul Catcher, because that was the most interesting part to me. I mean, yes, some of Lila and her invisibility, even after she lost her star piece, she could still go invisible, which helped her break into Quaff and everything, like fires and all that stuff. So that's interesting as well. And Helena's torturous unmade, for now she thinks of herself as Bloodstrike and not Helena, because Helena died when her parents and sister were killed. So, and then she became martyr of her family. She's the leader of her family, in which her family is like only 2 people. So yeah, there's that. I'm gonna have to purchase the next book, but that's okay. So far I'm not going to keep these books. I will get rid of them eventually. Who was my favorite character? Elis, because he keeps marching forward even though he's dying, and he's trying to do what he does best, which is make his end than real. And he's literally sits there and tells the soul catcher, I will take over your position because I want to help souls move on, to repent for what I have done in my life. I have killed many people and I want to repent for that, and I feel like this is the only way to do it. So he willingly wants to do this. He willingly wants to take over the soul catcher's job. Be alive, but also be dead, and be bound to a forest. It's what he wants, because he feels like it's what he deserves. Being able to repent in his own way. My least favorite character in this one, you don't really get a lot of people, but Marcus is my least favorite, because he's just a bloodthirsty asshole who talks to himself. Apparently he talks to ghosts, which the ghost may be his brother. Or it could be the Nightbringer. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know on that point. But Marcus, because he just like straight up kills her family because of a failure so he could appear strong as an emperor. Which of that is memorable? That the Commandant was trying to kill off 2 people with one thing. She let Elias escape so that way she could send Helena on a wild goose chase, knowing that it'd be hard for her to find him, and he was dying obviously because of her, and she planned to either have her killed the same way that Elias is dying, but faster, or to be killed by the Emperor for failure. Because she wants the Bloodstrike out of the way, because when she becomes Emperor, she doesn't want that Bloodstrike there. I do not have a favorite passage from the story, nor do I have a favorite quote. Well, I guess in the end is really it. Because I did like what he said to her, if I could find it. He's like, I am capable. I helped Izzy and Trista pass on through. Do this for me, Shiva. I'll live, save Darren, finish what I started. Then I will attend to the dead and have a chance to redeem myself in full for all that I've done. You repented long enough. Let me take over. Take the one I'm offering. I guess that would be my favorite quote. My favorite passage, I guess we can move down here. He steps towards me, backing me into the smooth, worn wood of the cabin. His breath goes as ragged as mine, and he brushes his fingers against my wrist, his warm hand trailing sparks up my arm, my neck, and across my lips. He cups my face in both his hands, waiting to see what I want, even as his pale eyes burn with need. I grab the collar of his shirt and pull him to me, exulting at the feel of his lips against mine, at the rightness of finally giving in to each other. I think briefly of our kiss months ago in his room, frantic, born of desperation, desire, and confusion. This is different. This is hotter. The fire hotter, his hands more certain, his lips less hurried. So yeah, they finally have a more passionate kiss. I guess that could be my favorite passage. What did I think about the ending of the book? Now, the plot is really moving much faster, and I'm hoping that the third one, the plot is like quick, because this was a slow, torturous thing, the travel and everything, and the flipping of those perspectives between the 3 of them was a little weird, in the fact that, all 3 of them were traveling, and 2 of them were traveling together, and one of them was not. It was okay. It's okay ending. It sets up for hopefully a good 3rd book. And maybe it'll set up for a very good 4th book, the ending. What book did it remind me of? Well, it reminded me a little bit of Iron Flame. in the whole journey and learning. That's about it. This book is part of a series, as you know, An Ember Against the Ashes. An Ember in the Ashes. I don't know why I'm saying against. An Ember in the Ashes. It's a 4-book series. This is book 2. It's watching tonight. I rated this a 3.25, simply because the only thing that was interesting to me was that Lila could turn invisible, and Elias is now Soulcatcher in training. More than anything. So, if you guys think I deserve a like, comment, and a lovely subscription, why don't you go ahead and drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.